Hello, Jess. Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yeah, I think I can hear you okay. My signal was going funny there a minute ago.
And no, I think mine was as well. So hopefully, hopefully Instagram will allow us
Oh
to
God, I hope
continue.
so.
Otherwise, all we can do is have a laugh about it and start again. Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining me, Jess. Would you do us the huge pleasure of introducing yourself? So for anyone that doesn't know you already.
Yeah, so my name is Jess Clancy. I am the proud owner of Lux and Polo, the show dogs. Polo is a standard poodle. He's 2 in, oh God, June. And then I've Lux, who is an English Cocker Spaniel, and she is 3 in May. I am a dog groomer the last, oh God, I think 3, 4-ish years now since kind of COVID hit. I used to be in events and COVID hit, that went down the toilet. My mum is grooming like 45 years at this rate. And I was like, right, mum, I need to buy a house, so I need to make money. Show me the ropes. And that's kind of how I ended up in dog grooming. And then got sucked into the show dog world with starting off with Lux and then with Polo. And yeah, 4 years later, it's a crazy, crazy world.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that great introduction. And I'm going to turn it down a small bit so there's no feedback. Brilliant. And for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Killian from Reese. We're an Irish dog brand that is going to be celebrating our 2nd anniversary, our 2nd birthday, just coming up in May. So just launching right into the topic, I suppose, on poodles. Let's start off really basic. Pretend I know nothing. What even are poodles, and what typical characteristics can we expect from a poodle?
Well, poodles obviously are a dog. So we've got in Ireland we have 4 different sizes. So you'd have your toy, miniature, medium, and then your standard poodles as well. So I'm involved in standard poodles, but obviously being a groomer, I groom all sizes of poodles. I think they're great. Like, they're fantastic dogs, especially to live with. Like, they're so easygoing. They're very family orientated. Like, they just love people. Like, they would pick a person over a dog any day. They're like, okay, my human's over there. See you later to the other dogs. They can be very intelligent. They're ranked one of the top, I think it's the top 2 of the top 3 most intelligent breeds in the world. So they're up there with like the border collies. And I know a lot of people kind of look at them going, oh no, there's no way. But they will outsmart you any day. I know mine always do. And other kind of characteristics would be like they're very kind of energetic, but they're great at just relaxing, and they will literally lounge all day if they could and have no problem just chilling on the couch on a rainy day, which is great. So you don't have to kind of worry about the weather. Obviously, being in Ireland, it rains all the time.
Yeah.
So they're easily entertained, like enrichment games or even just having a cuddle on the couch. And I would probably say they're also great if you're not feeling well. They're very good at picking up on it. So I suppose that's why they're also really well known in the kind of therapy dog world as well. They're great for it.
Okay. Hey, yeah, and you know what? You might be surprised by this. I was a little bit surprised, but then again, I remember how intelligent our followings are. When I asked on Instagram today, I put up a little question box. What words do you think of? Yes, some mentioned things like the grooming and the hairstyles, but we also got loads and loads about the intelligence, about the trainability. The types of coat they have as well. So there was a lot more to it than maybe we give people credit for. They're more well known than you'd think. And definitely Chris and I have fallen in love with many a poodle at our stand at loads of events, because like you say, they have this like emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
They seem to really know how to press your buttons. And
they definitely know how to press your buttons. Good and bad.
Exactly.
They can be a bit like stubborn sometimes if there's something. Well, I know Polo anyway, like if Lux takes a toy that he really wants, he will bark and be like, give me that toy, I want it. And he won't stop until he gets it. Like, he can be very kind of stubborn and determined, but it's just one of those things, and you just gotta love him for it.
Yeah, brilliant. And I suppose, how did you get involved with poodles? Did your mother always have poodles because you were because she was grooming, or how did you get involved originally? I know you kind of said
it's kind of a funny story. Like, my mom growing up always had like Alsatians, and like I think she had 2 African hens as well that she used to show, and she'd always say that like it was more her sister kind of really wanted an African hen, and then mum was like, I want to get one, so she got 2, started showing those, and then kind of down the line obviously they passed away and she got into grooming. And she said she got into grooming because she walked past a shop I think it was in Donnybrook, and somebody was grooming a standard poodle, and she was just like, oh my God, no, that's it. I want to groom and I want to get a poodle down the line. So she ended up going into grooming, did her sitting guilds, which is one of the highest qualifications you can get in dog grooming, and went over to London to get that and everything. And then by the time she came back, she's like, right, now I want a poodle. And a bit of life kind of got in the way with like kids and all that kind of stuff. So when we were about slightly older, so she finally got her first standard poodle 14 years ago, which is Indy, and she's still around today. She's my old queen bee. She's great. And then we about three years later, then we ended up getting Luda. So the 2 of them were white standard poodles. And then 6 years ago we got Jody. She's mum's black standard poodle, and then I got Polo just under 2 years ago, and he's another white one. So we tend to like the whites more, but
yeah,
they've got like different coat textures and personalities and stuff like that with the different colours, which is quite interesting. But yeah, so when mum got the poodles, obviously I grew up with them over the last kind of 14 years, and I was just hooked. I couldn't have a house without a poodle in it. Like I'll always have one, even though my husband will say, we're not getting another poodle, and I'm like, really? Or not yet. Next one.
Very good. And just so you mentioned they all have their own personalities and everything, but just for the size poodles, they from what I understand, they all started off kind of as a standard poodle, and then over the centuries, kind of the smaller variants were bred, right? Does this have an impact on their characteristics overall, or is usually a poodle? When I'm talking about that, I mean the toy poodles, the miniatures, the standards.
They're pretty much the same across the board. The only kind of main difference would really be is the smaller the poodle, the more kind of energetic and a little bit more yappy would be the only thing. But I suppose that's across the board with any dog size, regardless. So like if you have obviously like a Newfoundland for argument's sake, like they're so chill and docile. And then you could have like a Westie who could be very like barky and stuff like that. So it kind of just like, it depends. I suppose it also depends on where the dog's kind of brought up and everything as well. I do think that comes into a lot of it. But the smaller the poodle, the little bit more energetic and whatnot that they are. But overall, general traits, they're pretty much the same, just different sizes.
Yeah. And now that I've kind of put those into a lovely category, let's just get it out there in the room as well. There's also poodle mixes, right? So that is basically crossed with any other breed now at this day and age, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Personally, I'm going to put it out there. I love grooming them, but purebreds just have my heart. I'm very much a purebred gal, and I just think there's something so special and like majestic about the poodles, and they're just like their characteristics and the way they behave within a family environment is just something so different that I've seen to like other breeds, and like I just couldn't live without it. I absolutely love them, and I think with the crossbreeding you can get kind of a lot of their traits, but you also get traits from the other breed that's being crossed with it, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. So say for example like a lot of cockapoos, like they're mixed with normally kind of a miniature poodle and then like a working cocker or an English cocker or a cocker of any sort. But the problem is they're a lot more energetic. So you're getting 2 really high energy breeds, and they're like wild.
Yeah.
So it varies, but yeah, like I would be very much kind of purebred, but I do love obviously all the other breeds in the world.
Exactly, and I know even before we spoke before this talk, I mentioned I don't want to be here to be sensationalist. I'm not here to start an argument in the comments. That's not what we're here for. But I think it is important just to kind of lay a foundation and let people know that from what I've heard, a mix is not a 50-50 mix. It doesn't mean that just because you've got a Bernese Mountain Dog and you've got a poodle and you put them together that you're going to get 50% of each, and you're going to get the half of each of their personalities that you really want.
Like being a groomer, like I see so many different kind of types of crossbreeds, and like there's even a couple of them that I would groom from the same litter, and they are totally different. Like you're not guaranteed that they're all going to look the same, that they're all going to have the same kind of coat, the same temperament, the same size, anything like that. Whereas I find with the poodles, like you know exactly what you're going to get. Particularly if you're going to a reputable breeder, they will have a lot of health tests done, and it's not just on pop into the vet and they say it's healthy. It's extensive health testing, such as DNA testing. So there'd be a couple of things like PRA would be one thing, which is progressive retina atrophy. Mouthful. Or like NE, which is neonatal encephalopathy. I can never say it. But there's kind of two. They're kind of two like genetic things that would be quite big, that people would be testing for to make sure that they're not in their lines. And I think with responsible breeders, they are making sure in poodles that they don't have that going down the line, so that the next generation will be healthy, and again, like they don't have those issues and whatnot. Whereas with I know some like crossbreed breeders will test as well, which is great now that the DNA centres have actually opened up to some of the crossbreeds. But you're getting two different things from two different breeds that normally wouldn't go together.
Exactly.
So it is one of those things that like you do have to be very, very careful with, but you're not guaranteed a 50-50 split of either breed.
It's a mixed bag. Exactly. So going back to the iconic poodle now, and I suppose lots of us definitely do know the iconic show grooming styles and everything, which I presume came up over the last kind of couple of 100 years since showing dogs kind of became popular. But do you know how that particular style came about and a little bit of the history of that?
Yeah, so with the continental look, which is what people would mainly see in crops, it's the 4 bracelets, the pom-poms, or the rosettes on the bum, the big puffy tail, and then the big massive jacket and the hairspray top knot and all that. So that is basically just an exaggerated version of what it's generally used for in kind of the water retrieval. So poodles are water retrieval dogs, so they are gun dogs of a certain extent, and they love hunting. And the reason for that is they kind of would protect their organs. So they would have clipped their legs to kind of make them a little faster in the water, but then also the rosettes on the top of their bum, that protects their organs. And then you've got your rosette or your bracelets or pom-poms. So many different terminology for each thing. But basically that protects like their joints and stuff like that when they're going through the water. And then their jacket obviously is just to make sure that they don't get freezing cold either. Now, when they're hunting, it's a lot shorter to what you would see in the likes of crops or dog shows, or in my case on a day-to-day basis. Which I know a lot of my neighbours now are like, what is that walking down the road? But yeah, no, that would kind of be the main show trim that a lot of people would see.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other ones that there's only generally a handful of kind of trims that you can show in Ireland under the FCI. So the FCI is the French organisation that a lot of the European countries would show under. So you've got your continental, you've your German trim, it's also known as a T trim, where it's a little bit shorter on the body. And on you don't have the big wild top knot, but you've got shaved ears. Then you've got the Scandinavian or kind of the pants trim, which is generally, you kind of keep them up to about a year old for the most part. Depends on everyone's dedication because there's a lot of work in it. And then you've got your modern trim, which is a shortened down version of that, which a lot of people now are kind of going towards, which is nice to see. My personal favorite is the German trim. I love it. I just think like the boys particularly just look so flashy in it. But there is something to say about the continental, like when they're in full coat and they're just running and they just look amazing in the ring.
I think it's just so outstanding that particular coat. It's that you know if you're used to seeing. But if you're living out in the countryside in Ireland, you've never seen a poodle in your life. You've only ever seen the types of dogs that you tend to see out in the countryside. Yes, it can be a bit shocking.
Yeah.
Right? It's a bit.
There's a couple of different like pet trims. So like there would be the lamb trim, which is kind of just a shortened down version of some of the show trims. And then you've got like your Miami, which is basically you just have their head, their ears, their tail, and you cut pretty much everything else off, bar like the bracelets on their feet. So that's kind of a popular trim for people who want to have a poodle trim, but very low maintenance. A lot of other people would just clip them short all around. The great thing about poodles is that you can do so much with their coat.
Exactly.
Like you can be crazy like me and spend 5 hours every week with the dog, or you get them done kind of anywhere between kind of 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the length of the coat that you want. Like if you want a short coat, you can go anywhere from 8 to 10, 12 weeks and just cut everything off. Or if you want kind of a more poodle trim, but a pet trim, it's kind of every 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the length that you want.
And so I presume the person that doesn't own a poodle, the person like me that is a short-haired dog, probably asks, do you need to trim them at all? Or is the whole reason for trimming them the fact, that you're going to end up with matting all over the place? What does their natural coat look like? Do they look like a polar bear? Are they nuts?
So their natural coat, it can be quite curly. So it kind of depends really, because there's a certain texture. You want kind of like a dense, like crisp, kind of bouncy coat nearly. But you don't want like really, really curly either. Like they do have a curl in their hair. So they are, because their coat is more like a wool coat, they do need a lot of grooming. It does kind of depend on the length and stuff, again, what you want. But if you're generally keeping a long-ish look, you will need to keep on top of it. Like I would always kind of say to customers, you need to go through your dog with a slicker brush and a comb at least minimum like 2 times a week. 2 to 3 times, like you should be fine. And once you invest in a good brush and a good comb, that's you're kind of sorted. Naturally, if you were to leave them, they would mat, but they could also go into kind of cords as well. So they're like dreadlocks all around their body. It's literally a case of kind of splitting the hair and then kind of twisting it. There's a couple of poodles that get shown in a corded look. It looks pretty cool, but I would not be going to do that, like, because you have to wash them in like vinegar and all that kind of stuff to kill any bacteria and everything. So it's a little bit more maintenance that is already involved with them.
Okay, so they're a high maintenance dog for anyone that's listening, kind of, in that sense, for the grooming part. I mean, I suppose in another sense, that's not the end of the world if you're willing to sit down for a couple of minutes every single day.
Yeah, I mean, like if you keep on top of their coat, like it's quite easy. Like now, if they're in a pet trim, like you'd maybe spend 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes going through the coat head to toe and just making sure that you're getting right down to the skin. And once you get right down to the skin, you're fine. Like it's just a case of dedicating that time. I do always kind of say people with kids, particularly young kids, I'm like, just take them short. It's much easier on the dog. It's much easier on the family. Because I know there's people like, we got the dog for the kids, and it's like they're not actually going to sit down and brush the dog. So it's just easier. Just take them short. They can have a great time, go on the beach, get dirty, go in the sea. And it just makes life a lot easier. Whereas if they're kind of an older age customer, I'd say, look, just 10 minutes, 2-3 times a week, and you're fine. Some people like to do it every day, and some people just like to do it once or twice a week, which is fine. And just whatever kind of works for that person.
And I suppose, like, to wrap up the coat part of things, there are 2 terms that you hear a lot about the poodle coat: non-shedding and hypoallergenic. How do we feel about the truth behind those statements? So with poodles, it's a wool coat, and they shed pretty much the same as a human. So there's not one dog in the world that doesn't shed. Every single dog in the world sheds. It's like all humans shed hair, skin, cells, all that kind of stuff. So it's the exact same with the dogs. But with poodles, it's just because their hair grows on a slower rate and it can grow really, really long. So it's basically, that's like their hair growth cycle. So that's kind of the reason why that we would say that they're hyperallergenic or non-shed. But they do shed essentially, but it wouldn't be like Ruby, for example, with short hair breeds, like they shed like crazy. They're really, really short hair, so you hardly notice unless you have an allergy, of course. Yes. It's kind of the shorter the hair, the more they shed, and the longer the hair, the less they shed. But it's pretty much, you kind of think of it in human terms, they would shed like human. Like when you brush your own hair, you're going to lose a few strands. It's the same with the poodle, but they don't drop coat like crazy. So that's why people would say that they're hyperallergenic or that they're... Not your golden retriever, German Shepherd,
Yes.
St. Bernard kind of shedding. That's it's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Okay. And a little bit about their history, because you mentioned already that they were gun dogs and used in hunting in the kind of, at least in the distant past.
Mm-hmm.
The standard poodle is a very, very old breed that was also like really loved by royalty as well, right?
I don't blame them.
Yeah, exactly. You see them in paintings all over Europe.
Oh yeah, no, you definitely see them in a lot of history books. And it's funny, like when you look in any, like if you're in any museums and you tend to see like paintings and they'll have like a poodle in it, they generally tend to be kind of black and white, which would be called party poodle. Mm-hmm. So poodles originally were two-tone with the black and white, and then over the years they've been bred into solid colours. So you have a variety of different colours kind of across history, but so under the FCI we have certain colours that you can show under. So you'd have your white, your black, your red, apricot, fawn, and then you'd have your grey and silver colours. So they're kind of the main ones, and brown as well. I always forget brown. So you've got those that you can show under. Now they've actually just announced, the FCI, that they will be allowing party poodles phantom, which is kind of their black and brown, and it's a certain pattern that they have to kind of have. It's kind of like a cocker spaniel with the black and tan cocker, where they've got like the brown on their face and certain marks. So it'll be the same in the poodles, but slightly different. And then brindle as well. So those three are now going to be added in under FCI from August this year, which is great. I think personally it's great. It's kind of sparked a bit of a debate in the poodle world, but considering that they originated from party poodles, I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. Like, they had to come somewhere.
Definitely. No, it's interesting, and I think you know, more openness and acceptance is always a good thing in the end. And in relation to like where they're popular, so I don't personally think we see a lot of them in Ireland in comparison to other breeds in particular. But how popular are they in Ireland, and are they more popular elsewhere in the world?
They are popular. They're definitely getting more popular in Ireland. There's definitely been an influx of kind of requests for poodles. Now, I'm on the Poodle Club of Ireland committee, and I know my mum's the health officer, and a couple of my friends are on it as well, like the secretary, and they will get requests for people looking for poodle puppies. There has been an influx over the last couple of years, which is great to see, and they want to get them from good, reputable breeders. They will be more popular in the UK, I would say, than here, but they're definitely getting more popular. It's not every day that you would see them in the show trims. Like in the poodles, I'd say there's probably, in showing poodles in Ireland, I'd probably say there's maybe the guts of maybe 60 or 70 poodles that are currently kind of in the show circuit, whether they go to one or they go to two or they go to every single one, you know. So it's definitely becoming more popular, the breed, but I think it should be more popular than it is.
Well, of course, yeah.
They're very versatile, and I think there's a lot of kind of stigma around the clipped face and all this kind of stuff, but like you can absolutely grow out their face. Like, they're great for grooming competitions. They're great for kind of doing all sorts of haircuts. You'd actually be surprised. You could put up a doodle and you could put up a poodle with the same kind of hairstyle with their face, and it would be very difficult to tell the difference when their face is grown out. And I think a lot of people have that misconception that they have to be clipped short and they have to have the skin tight face and the feet and all that kind of stuff. But there's so many things that you can do with their coat to still have a poodle if you don't want them to look like a poodle and grow them out to look different.
Yeah, and I think it's always important that we at least pay attention that some of the older breeds kind of stick around, because they've hung around with us for such a long part of history and been our best friend for so long that, you know, it's worthwhile hanging on to them. We've spoken, for example, with someone about Irish Wolfhounds a couple of weeks ago, a breed that basically reached, or I think did fully reach extinction, had to be basically, you know, kind of reintroduced. So I think it is always worthwhile keeping a look at what the populations are like, and just about their personalities, because we tend to be out and about and meet all sorts of breeds of dogs, and some of them tend to like strangers and strange dogs more than others. So a apart from the poodles that we've met, how do you think that they get on with strangers and other people? How are they for, say, let's say modern city living of going to markets and cafes?
Yeah, like they, as I said earlier, like they absolutely love people. They're very family orientated. They sometimes they can be a bit kind of like, I don't know about you. And then once they're kind of around you for a couple of minutes, and they're like, okay, you're cool, no problem. So they can be worried, but overall they're generally very, very friendly, and they love people. Like they would literally pick people over dogs. They do love playing with other dogs and interacting with them as well, but they're very much a people person, people dog person kind of thing.
Presumably that kind of characteristic might help with the training as well, if they're looking for your attention.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. They normally, like in a household, they would generally kind of pick like one person that they worship the ground on, basically, but they will still love everybody else in the family, but they'd be very much like, no, that one person is my person. They're really great to train, and they do love a lot of different things like games, and they're very clever, but with them being very clever, they can also sometimes get a bit bored, but as long as they're kind of, getting the enrichment every now and again, like they're not destructive dogs whatsoever. Like they just might go, oh, okay, I'm sick of that game. Is there anything harder kind of thing? Like if you're having your treats in a towel, or you're kind of having to step up your game and get a box and shred everything up and all that kind of stuff. But they are very easy to train. And in saying that, like they do love a lot of different sports. Like they're quite good at dock diving. They're great for therapy dogs, search and rescue, man trailing, water retrieval in gun sports. And they recently, in history, they also did work as working sleigh dogs as well. So it wasn't just the Huskies; the Poodles got in there too.
Absolutely, no, and I think I can think of no more amazing image than a poodle in full show groom running through a forest in man training. I think it would be amazing. Yeah, why not?
There's a few of the girls that actually show with me, and they have, I think two of her girls she has out doing man trailing, and they absolutely love it.
Well, I can imagine they like to get the brain going. So
and they're both in full show coat and the harness, and they're off going sniffing around, and they just adore it. And it seems to be it's a great mental stimulation for them as well. And they'd be knackered after, which is great for you if you want to just chill in the evening.
Definitely. So they're a dog that can definitely chill then afterwards and relax. Do they tend to bark a lot? I don't know whether they
not the bigger ones, the smaller ones can a little bit. Like they're great guard dogs, I would say, like across the board. They're very much protective of your home, but they'll also be very accepting of people coming into the house once you're kind of like, no, they're fine, they're grand. But like I would just say, like someone breaking into my house if they weren't invited in.
Yeah.
But they're very I wouldn't say they're kind of a very barky dog in general, really.
Okay.
It'd be more kind of the smaller ones, but as a general rule, they're not too bad.
Yeah, and I haven't seen them out and about either being very yappy or anything like that. And I suppose to wrap things up, because you've covered so many lovely little areas, are there any misconceptions about poodles that you'd like to address? Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to let people know?
Yeah, I would say people kind of think that they're just meant to be, city kind of dogs, and they do love the countryside. Obviously, you'd have to kind of generally have them short unless you're going to be dedicated to kind of grooming them every week. But again, you could just clip off all their hair. And there's also kind of a few things that people tend to say, oh, they're French poodles and all this, but they actually originated from Germany. Just the French decided to claim credit for them, but they're actually from Germany. So it is when you're like, no, they're German.
Oh, very good.
But the word poodle comes from puddle in German, so that's where that comes from.
Okay, makes sense. And because they're a water dog.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And I had something else written down. I know I can't remember what it was. But they're I think they're fantastic dogs, and I couldn't live without one. Honestly,
I think if anyone is considering getting any sort of a dog that's potentially any of the poodle sizes, and even if some of these boxes were ticked by what we were talking about this evening, go and meet a poodle, because you'll fall in love. They're like we said earlier, they'll definitely find the buttons to press to to get you to fall in love with them and do what they want.
Oh no, definitely. They really know how to kind of get you wrapped around their little finger. And they're funny for food, actually. Like, some of them can be so picky and you're just like, oh, come on, just eat what you're getting given. And they're just like, no, I want the 5-star course meal here. They want the whole shebang. So they can be quite fussy in that way, but I find a lot of people kind of think that they're quite like prissy looking dogs, and they just think, oh, they've got the hair, they look mad, but like they can get down and dirty, no problem. Like, there's I've got photos, I wish I had them printed out, but my mum has photos of her girl Indy after a show, and when I mean she was literally up to her neck in mud, mum was just like, do you know what, you're having fun.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people think the show dogs they're not like pets and they're just, you know, there for show, but pretty much everybody I know in Poodles is very much like, no, they're pets first, then show dogs. And they don't mind them getting down and dirty and, you know, going on the beach or going in for a swim or anything like that. Like, they're dogs at the end of the day. They have to have fun for their own sanity and for our own as well.
Yeah, no, definitely, totally agree. And if you do happen to find one of those mucky poodle photos, feel free to send it on or tag me or whatever.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. I'll ask one for it because
people can have a look. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I really feel you've done Poodles justice. Now I want to have a whole horde of Poodles at home myself.
Well, just another note, like, if anybody has any questions about Poodles or is interested in getting a Poodle or even coming to like shows or anything like that, there's the Poodle Club of Ireland Instagram, and there's also the Poodle Club of Ireland Facebook page. Where a couple of the committee members and stuff would be more than happy to kind of give some details on the different shows and breeders that have upcoming litters, or if you want to go onto a waiting list and stuff like that. Of all the different sizes, we cater across the board, and they're generally all kind of health tested poodles as well. So at least that way you know exactly what you're getting, and we'll always help in whatever way we can as well, because we are more than happy to get more poodles out there.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I think it is brilliant that, you know, we can help people start off the conversation, and then they can take it off to places like the Kennel Club and all this. So also, if you want to check out Jess's profiles, there's on Instagram, there's at lux.and.polo_show dogs. And we've also got at Canine Crazy Groomers _BlackRock. I'll tag these as well, obviously. Thank you so much for joining and sharing with us. It's been an absolute pleasure learning about Poodles.
Great. Talking to you, Killian. Long time no chat.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can chat again very soon.
Definitely. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks a million. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.